Hi, this is Richard Close. When I was very young in the 50s, my mother used to read this chapter book, The Square World. And from all the crazy places, it came from a book called The Walt Disney Surprise Package that was done in 1944. Of course, in the 50s, the war was still very alive in my father's heart and traumatized him for life. But this particular chapter book, I remember asking her to read it over and over again, and it deeply impacted me on social justice at a very young age. Many years later, I come across that this book is still out there. It's out of print, so all rights go to Disney and the authors. But I thought I would narrate it for the sake of my children and my grandchildren and give them perhaps a little bit where my roots come from. So here we go. I'll do the best of I can. The Square World. In the beginning, the people of the land of what's its name looked just like people everywhere else. Some had short shapes and some had tall shapes. Some had round shapes and a few were very square. Everyone seemed quite content with these many different shapes. Everyone except for one man. This man was a rascal. This man, alas, was the mighty Highty, the ruler of the land. I do not like so many shapes, he growled. My shape is the right shape. All other shapes are wrong. I do command that henceforth everyone be shaped like me, and that means square. Ha ha, he chuckled to himself with horrible glee. With yardsticks and tape, the soldiers of the Highty rushed forth to measure all the people's shapes. Those that were square were stamped OK, but anyone who was tall or had a figure like a ball was promptly taken to jail. In front of the jail, the Highty put a great machine. Now, he said, begins the fun. We'll take these folk and stretch them a little here, squeeze them a little there, press a bit, flatten a bit, until their forms are just like mine. The people shook their fists and cried out angry shouts, but it was no use. One after another, the short, the tall, the fat, the lean, were crammed into the wide metal mouth of the dreadful machine. One after another, they tumbled out again, stretched and flattened and absolutely square. Yet somehow the mighty was not content. Square people is not enough, he cried out crossly. Square me the animals too, the horses and chickens and ducks. Square me the birds, the fishes, and the worms. The soldiers rushed in the fields and farms. An angry squawking rent the air as the shape of every living creature was molded into a square. Yet still the Highty was not content. Square animals are not enough, he cried out. Square me everything in all the land. Loud was the wailing as everything that wasn't square was carried off to the squaring machine. They squared bicycle tires and church spires and ladies' hats and ginger snaps, the flagpoles and the gopher holes, the haystacks and the carpet tacks. They squared all the donuts and spaghetti and even a little piece of wedding confetti. They even squared the merry-go-round. At night, the great task was done. Life itself now seemed completely square. Each family breakfasted on square poached eggs, square sausages, and square pancakes. And each square father went off to work and gave his wife a sad square kiss and strode off blowing his square smoke rings from the end of his square cigar. Then the square children went off to their square school. They rode on square school buses that bumped along on square wheels. And when people met their friends along the street, they didn't bow or shake their hands. They signed and hailed them with the sign of the square. At last, bragged the mighty Highty, I've changed the shape of everything there is. Now I must change the shape of everything that is to be. I must be sure that when I die, my people still will be shaped like me. I do declare that henceforth all newborn babies must be square. Tomorrow let all the teeny newborns, square tots, be wheeled beneath my balcony. This time The haughty ruler had gone one step too far. There are some things in the world that no man, not even the Highty-Tighty, can change or suit his own small selfish plans. The next day the parade of baby buggies came in sight. The Highty-Tighty could scarcely believe his square eyes. The newborn babies of what's-his-name looked just like newborn babies everywhere else. Each had an ordinary baby shape, and not a single one was square. The mighty Highty-Tighty shrieked loud and raged. He flung himself from his balcony and plunged into the pond beneath. The last that anyone ever saw of him was one square bubble. The end. Or perhaps the beginning.